Welcome to episode 23. How's everyone doing?
Amazing. Sensational.
Wonderful.
Sensational.
I don't
Why
believe
not?
you
How you
guys,
feeling? Oh, we never ask you how you feeling. How you feeling,
Because
man? We
I-
never
I-
ask you.
Yeah, how are you, Olu?
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Daniel. That means so much. That means so much that you asked. Not joking. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. On this week's episode, we're going to talk about the last time you did something for the first time. So this will be really interesting. Um, and then we'll go to the book review, which will be taken by Daniel. Really looking forward to it. You always provide insightful book reviews. So stay tuned and let's get started.
Take off, take flight with you. For we never fly, but we're flying.
When was the last time you did something for the first time? This sounds like a Drake. This sounds like a Drake
I
bar.
think
Something like that.
because I'm the resident Drake expert, I can confirm that he has used this as a line in one of his songs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he has.
Okay.
So Shuwel, when was the first time you did something? Or the last time you did something for
do
the
you know
first time?
what, Oli, what you need to do is you need to mute your microphone, Olu, and just practice that one line a few times just to make sure you say it right.
I was like, what's the first time you did something for the last time? What's the last time you did something? Yo, P. You're laughing a little too hard, P. You're laughing a little too hard. You're laughing a little too hard, P. P.
Sure, get your story again.
We're just jumping into stories straight away. Should we not just talk about why it's important, why we should continuously want to do things for the first time now? Just jumping straight into the examples.
Go on, do whatever you want.
All right, cool. So I would actually personally explain why, for me, it's always important to do something new, because if you're not continuously doing something new, then what's the point of life? There's so many things out there, so many experiences, so many places to go, so many people to meet, so many things that if you're not putting yourself out there and doing it for the first time when you feel a little bit nervous beforehand, then what's the point? What's the point of life? It's just very stale. I think we mentioned a couple of episodes ago about Jay-Z and him becoming a billionaire, and his famous line is, "I'd rather live big than die dormant." And I think this just ties into the whole reason why it's important to continuously do things for the first time, because it brings you outside of your comfort zone. And for me personally, that's what more life is about. It's about experiencing new things for the first time.
More life.
More life.
Are you part of?
More life, more everything.
Isn't okay? Cool. I thought you were part of like Drake's label group. I'm sure he's got a song or album called More Life.
No, he does. And I may be affiliated with him, but let's talk about that for another episode.
Yeah, the way you like, yeah. Doesn't. Doing something new. You can never truly know what your purpose in life is until you try multiple things. So I think a lot of times, which is sad, some communities or us being brought up in a certain way is like, okay, try and find a job and stick to that specific area. Um, I've sort of tried to take a different mentality, especially in my 20s, where that's the time to try as many things as possible. Because the more things you can try at a younger age when you have maybe less commitment, you could truly find what you enjoy, what is your purpose, what you really can see yourself doing for the rest of your life in certain cases. So for me, it's like for you to truly understand what your purpose is you need to try different things. And this is not something like you might be in your 20s that could change to your 30s, that can change in your 40s. But unless you're continuously trying new things and reinventing yourself, you're truly never going to know. You're just going to be stuck in in a specific chapter of your life. And I see life as just multiple chapters. And by trying new things, you get to sort of see and change your chapter.
So who's going to give their first example then?
Well, but before I was just going to say, adding on to why it's important, it allows you to start being proud of yourself and realizing that you're growing. And when you think about when was the last time you did something for the first time, you're going out of your comfort zone, and each time you do it, your comfort zone's getting bigger,
Mm-hmm.
and then you step out again and take risks. So it's all about risk. So when you do something for the first time, it's something you've never done before, and you're taking on an element of risk, which there's no reward without risk.
Mm.
And each time you do it, you're becoming more comfortable. But then again, you step out, and then your confidence then gets bigger and bigger. And it's just a nice way to grow within yourself and to, whether it's a skill, something new, an experience. It's always nice because you have a sense of achievement and accomplishment as time goes on.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to put that just to mention that.
Sure.
But you were asking about when was the last time you did something for the first time.
Yeah, who wants to? Let's quickly share our examples because then that'll probably be the good basis for discussion as well.
Okay. Any takers? I don't mind. But anyone want to go first?
Okay, I'll go for. I don't mind quickly going first. So for me, every year I try to learn a new skill that I couldn't do before. So this probably started about 3 years ago, where I decided that finally at the age of how old would I have been? Probably 25, is that I wanted to learn how to swim. So it's quite embarrassing learning how to swim at the age of 25 when you're in the pool surrounded by kids who are like 2 and 3, but I did that. Then last year I learned how to ski. So skiing is something that I've always wanted to do, but again I couldn't.
I like the way you just skip past
No,
it.
but the
It's kinda
swimming
embarrassing.
one's probably the one that I'll focus
Who did
on.
that?
The swimming one is probably the one that I'll
Okay.
focus on. I'll talk about it during the episode. But it's the thing that I tried to say is I've tried to learn a skill every year. So swimming was 1 year, skiing was another, and this year was actually how to start recording a podcast. So that was a skill that I wanted to learn this year. But probably the one that I'll focus on during this episode is the swimming. But I can go into that into more detail afterwards.
P. You know how to swim?
Yeah, I can swim.
He's actually, do you know what? P is actually a very, very good swimmer. I remember the
can
first time I saw him
The thing
swim.
is- the thing
I
is,
was
what's
very
this-
surprised.
Yeah, what's this notion about black people can't swim?
I wasn't. It had nothing to do with your race. I don't
But
know.
Oli,
Yeah,
can you
nothing
swim?
to
I
do with
know
the
that.
other-
But what I'm saying to you,
Yeah, I
Can you
can
swim
swim.
well? Because you can't. It's different swimming in the swimming pool and swimming in the sea. Because P swam in the sea. P see me swim in the sea. We swam in the sea. Can you swim in the sea?
So is the question you haven't seen me swim in
No,
a
but
sea? Is
I'm
that-
saying.
I'm just trying to. Instead of yes, I've swam in a sea
Okay.
before.
so
Yes, and not over from Nigeria. I didn't.
so Shuwel, are you not going to expand on? Are we going to? How are we going to do?
All right,
Go
cool.
around
Okay,
one,
how
two-
should we do it?
Yeah.
Okay, I can quickly expand if you want. All right, cool. Let me quickly explain. All right, cool. So back in 2017, now I wanted to learn how to swim because as a child I went a couple of times, nearly drowned. I think that kind of scared and put me off. And then whenever I'd go on holidays, I'd always kind of tiptoe in the pools and kind of spread my arms out as if it looks like I'm swimming, but I can swim at all. So I got some cool pictures, but I fundamentally could not swim. Go ahead,
I think
Pete.
I'm laughing. Because I remember now the time when back in 2012 or 13, we did canoeing in one of
Oh
the
my god,
the Switzerland
scariest
lakes.
moment of my life.
And we all had to wear life jackets, right? So- but the thing is, even with a life jacket, you still have to. There's still a level of comfort that you need if you can swim. How you sort of hold your head up, and I don't know how you fell in, but Shuwel fell in the lake.
Okay, let me quickly explain. Okay, on a side note, so
I should say my piece and then you can finish it. Shuwel fell in the
Alright,
lake.
cool.
Shuwel fell in the lake. But what happened was because he couldn't swim, yeah.
if I can explain it, Pete.
She was trying to clean this up.
No,
She was
but
really
I'll
trying to
explain
clean
it.
this
No,
up.
The thing is, if you can swim, you kind of know how to keep yourself afloat. So we
Yeah.
well, because he couldn't swim, yeah, he just started kind of like dipping into the water. He said, I was on the boat and I was like, bro, all good. And then, you know when someone you realize you really can't swim. Let's get him out. So, go ahead.
But what's
Like,
hilarious, right, is up
I
until
was trying to talk to him, and he was like, "Whoop, whoop."
what's funny is before I decided that I wanted to learn to swim in 2016, I had these incidents that kept recurring where I'd have
Wait, this wasn't a one-time thing. It was
near death experiences, and this specific one that Pabile mentioned. So in 2012, we're a group of interns. We've gone to Geneva. It's a super sunny day. Lake Geneva is a beautiful place in case anyone hasn't seen it. So all of the guys are like, all right, guys, let's jump in the canoe and go in the middle of the lake. And at first I was like, oh, cool. Is everyone sure about this? And because everyone else was so excited, I was like, all right, cool. I'll go as well. So I got my life jacket on. I'm thinking, all right, I've got my life jacket on. I'm not going to get in the water. I'm in the canoe the whole time. So we row into the middle of the lake. So it's a beautiful day. I am gassed thinking, okay, Switzerland's a beautiful country. Then everyone gets up out the canoe and starts swimming in the lake. So now I'm thinking, oh, cool, I'm getting a bit worried now. This is everyone else is having a great time, and I'm just sat here in this canoe, like just looking around. So then I decided to get brave, and everyone was saying, "Sure, don't worry, you got a life jacket, bro. You got nothing to worry about. Just jump in the water." Now, when I go into any water environment, I always ensure that I can touch the bottom. Now, there's no way in hell that my feet are going to touch the bottom of Lake Geneva. So I jump out, get into the water, and instantly panic mode hits. And the water's like up near my shoulders. And as Pavilo said, if you've got a life jacket on, it's very easy to stay afloat if you're relaxed. And if you've got your shoulders back, you're cool. But in my panic, I kept pushing my face forward like this. And just swallowing more and more water. And then everyone else around me thought, oh, Shaw's just joking around like he usually does. So no one was trying to help me. So I'm drowning. Everyone's laughing.
was drowning, and everyone's like laughing at you.
Honestly, but it gets even worse. So I'm like trying to indicate with my arms, guys, help me, help me, help me. My friend thought I was trying to tell him, oh, pass me the oar, the actual stick that you used to canoe. Pass me that so I can oar myself out of water. It's like, there's no logic behind that. I'm actually asking you to help. Then eventually one of my friends came, he jumped off the canoe, Chand, if he's listening, and he kind of dragged me with my life jacket back onto the canoe. And I was like dying. And then one of the guys who was actually there with us, Hassan, he was cracking up with laughter. Everyone thought it was the funniest thing ever. And Hassan actually looked at me dead in the face and he said, bro, if you've got a life jacket on and you're struggling, you actually deserve to die. I was like, oh my God.
Because the thing is, with a life jacket, the thing with a life jacket, it only keeps you afloat from your neck upwards.
Yeah, so you can't drown technically.
Yeah, no, but you're saying that. But imagine in a sea or where there's strong currents.
There's no strong currents.
I think it was the lake. It was the lake. It was actually
it's different. But I'm saying in general, a life jacket doesn't save you because if there's waves lapping, your head top is getting licked.
Agreed, Daniel. But for a lake situation,
but when you're panicking, clearly when you're panicking.
That must have been an awkward journey back to shore.
No, it was awkward, but it was funny. But building on that, eventually in 2016, when I was in Japan, 2017, I decided, okay, I'm nearly a grown man now. I need to really learn how to swim. So I had professional lessons. I was swimming in Tokyo in a pool where the second oldest child who was learning to swim was a 4-year-old or something ridiculous. So it was me, a 4-year-old, 2-year-old, and lots of babies. And it took me about 2 months, but eventually I got the hang of it. And now I can swim comfortably in swimming pools. Oceans and lakes might be a bit more scary, but generally it was one of the best things ever because it's a life skill and it's something that I've always thought in my head that I will never be able to do. I used to make excuses like, I'm just one of those people that doesn't float, it doesn't work for me, like my calves are too small. But then once you actually get into the lessons and the flow of it, it's really as Daniel was saying earlier, it's a very empowering, inspiring thing for myself. And actually, based on that, some of my friends have been able to learn how to swim as well. If Shamsul Alam is listening, he's like Ian Thorpe now, Olympic grade swimmer. So I know that's because of me, Sham. So
but no Michael Phelps.
No Michael Phelps. But that's my story. So who wants to share the next one? That was a bit long.
No, that was a great story, man. I'm still picturing you struggling to stay afloat with a life jacket on.
And the whole time, P's just sat there, just watching me nearly drown, thinking, "Oh, she was just."
What's going on, dude? What's going on? You cool? You cool? Like just stay afloat, man. He's going. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Yeah, I can go next.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, go on. Should I go? Okay, so mine would be. I think it's really around this podcast. My recent one right now is the podcast. This was one where I really. Every year I try to look at a new skill similar to Shuwel, which I can sort of learn, or a different area that I'm curious about. And I just want to learn how people go through the process. So sort of this podcast is something I just obsessed about. So just going on YouTube, looking at lots of different videos on how to set up a podcast, what systems to use, what software to use, how people are doing it. So that's one that I've really, really sort of enjoyed the whole learning process. Outside of that, I think one of the big ones, which I'm extremely excited to do this year, is volunteering. So this year,
Oh, so you never volunteered before in your life?
not volunteered, but I've never gone away for a week outside of the UK to volunteer. So this year, Daniel and I are going to Lesotho. Most people might not know where that is. It's like a 5 hour drive from South Africa, Johannesburg. And we're going out there to support a charity called Habitat.org to help build an orphanage out there. So um, that is something that I've been looking at doing for the last few years. And finally, after I saw Daniel do it last year, I said to myself, you know what? It's something I just need to do. I've been talking about it for a long period of time. I've always really wanted to give
Mm.
back. Why don't I use this experience? And it's nerve wracking due to the fact that I've never done it before. Um, it's outside of my comfort zone. A country that I've never been to before. So yeah, really excited.
And when is it that you're going, Olu?
We're going on the in August. It's the second week in August.
I don't want to mention the podcast because that's just one that's I think is a collective. That's something we've done all new for the first time. And now that Olu's talking about volunteering abroad, it's kind of stolen mine because I was going to talk
Why
about
don't you
my
talk
trip
about your
last
trip?
year
Because I
to
guess
Zambia.
it's different. Because this is my first time doing it. I haven't done it. You've actually
Yeah.
experienced it. And
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, if we're talking in terms of volunteering, I do a lot of volunteering within the UK and with my and corporately as well. But this trip last year was something that was very, very different for many, many reasons. And this trip was a group of 14 people, individuals. Some were friends, but not collectively known. Uh, we didn't know each other. I was in a group with everyone coming predominantly from the United States, and we all went to Zambia, and we went to Lusaka, then went to Kabwe, which is a small, it's in the southern part of Zambia. But I decided to go on this trip because it was one, doing something different, two, doing it in a different country, and three, just being around like-minded people that want to help others.
Mm.
And from this trip, on the build you have a team leader, so you typically fly in the day before, spend the night in that area, then you go to where you'll be for the week, and you're building from Monday to Friday. And yes, you can actually build a house in a week. It's not like a mansion or what you think, but it's a three room house with a roof and of good course foundations built by brick. So we are actually building the house brick by brick, cement, etc., mixing that, fetching it, making our own cement. And it's really, it's quite tough on the body. I think the first day, I think the next morning, it was a struggle to wake up, and we were warned saying, on day 2, day 3, it will be very tough to wake up, but just persevere, because you're waking up at like 7 a.m., you're out by 8, and you're back around 5-6 p.m. So it's a real working day. It's a long day.
Mm.
And it was just so incredible. And something we were told on our team leader, he's coming to 70. He's been doing it for 15 years, and he's
Wow.
built maybe over 100 houses. So he's done quite a lot, and he didn't start till quite late in his life. And
And Daniel,
so
sorry, go ahead.
no, and he said, this is really an eye-opening experience. Like it's hard to describe it in words, and I did my best to try and capture it and describe it in the video format, which maybe we'll share on in this week's posts. But he said, when you go back, everyone has carried on with their lives as it is, throughout the day, throughout the week, or 10 days, 2 weeks. But we've all been privy to something different and seen life from a different perspective, a different angle, which makes you really appreciate life a lot more. And he said, when you go back, people ask you how it was, but don't be upset when they just expected like a one sentence. Oh yeah, it was good, it was all right. Because really and truly, when they ask you, you're gonna really want to go into it and say what it was like on a day by day, what you saw, how you did things, etc. But he said, don't be upset when people don't have the time to hear that, because they don't really care. They're just trying to say, okay, how was it? But it's almost, he said he actually not hides away, but he becomes like a recluse for a week or two, just him and his wife, because it takes time to adjust back into life in his city, in his domain. And Oli might be able to kind of vouch for this when we come back and actually say what it's like, because you're really in a different world, so to speak, when you're there. And seeing children who don't have, say, shoes, I'm not talking about just poverty, but it's just something different. It's completely different to what you may see on TV. But when you're living it and seeing it, and you're thinking they can be wild and excited for the smallest of things, you're thinking, wow, life I really do take for granted. How could people be so happy, so excited for small things that we just see as an everyday, almost, you know, what we deserve it, rather than we need to work for it or earn it. But it's something that was really, really, it shocked my system. It's something that I really did enjoy, that I've almost said to myself, I'm going to try and do one every single year in a different place. I did think of contemplate doing Brazil, Argentina this year, but due to working schedules for Olu and I to find something that would match, Lesotho was the place and choice of
Yeah, Daniel, I'm
our build
excited,
this year.
man. Like, I think I'm gonna go there with zero expectation. I think you should just go there with zero expectation, apart from to just serve and go there with a positive attitude. I've heard so many people say the exact same thing. It really puts life into perspective. Like when you come back, you just all those stuff that we worried about and we focused about, you realize how much it doesn't truly matter in the grand scheme of stuff, and how blessed we are. So I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait, man. And we're gonna get a week together or over a week together. So I'm sure we're either gonna go into want to kill each other, or it's gonna bring us closer. So I'm excited for that bonding experience as
Man, I
well.
always said that.
I just had one quick question, Daniel.
Yeah.
What was the driver for wanting to do that activity for the first time? Is this something that you've been thinking
Yeah.
about for a while, or?
So someone at work had been doing it for a few years. Like every single year, he would go away and do it. Maybe sometimes he'll do two. And it was just, I was always fascinated, intrigued, until one day I asked him about it, and then he told me,
Mm,
and it was like, oh, okay, it's really not that
mm,
difficult to do. So I set my, I think it was towards the end of last, I did it a year ago. So I just got back this time last year. I just got back,
mm,
and I think it was just towards the end of the previous year. I kind of put myself forward. Then you have like an interview from the person who's going to lead the build. But it's just, I wanted to do something that was outside of my comfort zone, something that I had never done before, and also put myself in the environment. I didn't know any of these people, these 13 other individuals. I didn't know them, but I knew we were
mm.
all coming for the same reason, and that was to do something as a collective to help someone less fortunate.
Serious.
So who's left
Yeah,
then? I
so
guess it's
myself.
last but not least, Pabilo Timbo.
Yeah, so with this, I was thinking a great example would be to climbing. Was it Mount Lemon in the south of Mauritius last year, with no tour guide, no harness, no nothing. So it's myself and Lauren climbing. And this thing about this experience, which is interesting, you can, as I go through it, you can very much liken it to the journey of life. The one thing I also say about the mountain is quite historical. So it was actually used as a refuge and a shelter for enslaved slaves back in the 18th and 19th century. So when we read this at the beginning, also Arco, maybe it's a bit more than just a walk. But yeah, so we started a hike, and just like life, when you start something new, only after a few minutes you're already complaining. It's too hot. I haven't got what I need. How far do we want to go? You start complaining. So we just kept on going, just kept on pushing. It helped with the fact that I was with Lauren, because I think when you're doing it with someone else, it definitely helps to push you further. You find yourself getting to certain points in your journey, in certain points in the hike, and then you're stopping to admire the view. You want to spend a bit more time, but the point is just to keep going, just to keep climbing. So we kept on climbing. I think it took us, the mountain is as high as 2,000 feet above sea level. So it's pretty grand, especially when you see it from the city. So we got to this point where now you can no longer start climbing, or you can no longer walk. You have to start climbing on all fours. And what,
Oh
what I
wow.
thought, yeah, what I thought was interesting about this phase is that we're standing at the point where we're looking at others climb, and we're saying we're sort of talking about them. We're wondering, what is it like to be up there? Are we sure we want to go up there? We haven't really got a tour guide. Does it really make sense? Maybe let's turn back, and go back home. And I think,
Was that?
go ahead.
Sorry, Pete. Was that more you or more Lauren that was saying that? Because I can imagine when that's more you.
No, it was probably It's probably more me, but at the same time, we were just trying to say, okay, does it make sense? Is it logical? We've come far enough. The view's good. Do we need to go to the top? Let's just go back. And these are a lot of the questions that we ask ourselves also in life when we're sort of starting a new, I don't know, adventure or a new opportunity. We get to a midway point and we start questioning whether we should continue to push through. But one thing that was troubling me at least, and that is usually I'm the kind of person I'll say, okay, my knees are not strong. Let's head back. Let's head back home.
So I missed that. Your knees are what?
And I thought to myself, hang on a minute. The one thing I don't want to do is stand here and watch others go up and then live to tell the story. So when they come back down, they've experienced something I haven't, and we're this close. So it's the saying that Shuwel says time and time again: you didn't come this far just to come this far. So we started making our way, and as soon as you start stepping into territory that you're unfamiliar with, the brain is telling you, "P, go back. This is dangerous. Go back. If anything happens, it's over." I remember there's a tour guide that was coming back down, and he said to us, "You're best off going with a tour guide. It's about to rain in a bit." There's a lady yesterday who had broken her leg, was then carried by helicopter. And again, in life, people will say to you, "Don't do it."
What a sales pitch that guy was giving you.
Yeah. It's people will turn you off from what you want to do. So me and Lauren were looking at each other saying, "Okay, let's at least just go a bit further and see what that's like." So we started climbing, and when I say all fours, I'm talking all fours, to the point where you're pretty much you're looking up. You're not looking ahead of you. You're looking up at the next rock to hold on to and climb. And I was saying to myself, "Yo, babe, this is like, if anyone slips here, it's game over." But you just keep going. I think when you go ahead.
And Pete, you got 100 million on your schedule, bro. You need to stay alive.
Come on. I know I stay alive and stay low. But no, you just keep going. And so there was every step you're taking, every climb you're making, you're questioning whether you should continue. But long story short, we made it to the top, and to be able to come back. I mean, it took hours, but to be able to come back down, get back to our car, get back to our hotel room, and then be able to say, "Yeah, we did it. We was able to go to the top. We lived to tell the story." It makes it all worthwhile. So I use that example because I very much liken it to the journey of life. People will turn you off. People will say, "Don't do it." You will question yourself. You will say it's risky. We're gonna lose it all if anything goes wrong. But the opportunity is way bigger than the obstacle.
Yeah, Pete, you mentioned, you said how it made you feel, and like the fear factor, and using a real life parallel in terms of life itself. But what did you learn about yourself on that?
It's not worth procrastinating for too long. That's what I learned. I said, "Are we going to do it?" And so because you're almost more comfortable procrastinating. And it was like, this is we're on holiday. It's a new experience. Let's just go. Let's just see how far we can push ourselves, and then we can always say if we don't want to continue, fine. But to not procrastinate.
Okay.
And I also learned about myself that I can do it. You can get over the hump the mental block that you have, and push on.
P, did I tell you the story when I was in the States and I got rescued by the park ranger when I went hiking?
No. Go ahead.
I was mad. You know how mad I was, man. I was in California, and I went hiking with two friends. And one of them said, "Oh, they'd done the hike before. It was supposed to only be a 4-hour hike. It was supposed to be a short 4-hour hike, yeah. We're going. I'm trusting this person. After like 3 hours, I'm like, "Yo, are we going the right way?" And you can imagine, because it's a 4-hour hike, we only brought like a little bit of snacks, like 1 or 2 bottles of water. And then it starts to like get foggy and start raining. And I'm like, "Yo, are you sure like we're going the right way? Like we haven't turned right. Like logic tells me right to right to right leads you back to wherever we haven't turned right." And she's like, "No, don't worry." 4.5 hours goes past. And I'm like, "Yo, are you
No, wait. Oli, sure? we know, I know at this stage you're not this calm talking.
No, I'm not, obviously I'm not calm. I'm like, yo, like, are you sure it's getting dark, it's getting late? Do you know what you... So I said, "You know what? Maps? No, because where we were going, there wasn't any reception. There was no reception. There was no coverage." So, anyways, we kept going. Like maybe 4.5 hours. I check my Google Maps is like there was a little place where I had connection. I checked quickly, and I'm like, oh my days. This says that we're 4 hours away from the exit. I'm like, like I say to her, like, what, like, do you know? And she's like, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I got lost a few minutes
Oh
ago,
my
and I was like, why
days.
didn't you just say? So because it was getting so late and so dark, in that little spot where we had reception, I basically called like the helpline. I was just like, hey, there's 3 black people in this hike trail, and we were kind of lost. Can you like what should we do? Could you advise us? They were like, oh, there's no park ranger near where you guys are. What I would advise you to do is sort of walk back the same way you came. I was like, wait, that's like another 4.5 hours to walk back.
Oh my
And then
god.
they were like, oh, we'll send someone to find you. Oh my days.
What? For dead bodies?
I
Or
don't even like. So now we're walking back here. My battery's only probably like 10%. So I'm like, okay, should I now like turn my phone off? We've got someone else's battery which we're using as a torch. Um, we're like, well,
Bruh.
basically, you start to what's going through your mind. You start to make decisions like, does it make sense to just stay, try and find shelter, stay warm, and hopefully they'll find us, or do we want to continue risking it because it's getting so dark and late? 8 hours into the hike, yeah. You can already tell.
Wait, what time is this?
So this is
What time is this, by
now
the way?
coming up to 9 p.m. So we already like visibility is pretty much bad. It's
Right.
being foggy, everything. So when we drive back, and I'm like, I haven't even told anyone I'm on this hike. I
The
haven't
last
told
person,
anyone I'm on this hike.
the last person I want to be stuck on a mountain with that's pissed is Olu.
Like
Yeah, yeah,
That's the
I,
last person.
I haven't told anyone that I'm on this hike. Yeah. So I'm thinking, like, how long is it gonna take for people to know I'm missing? Like, we're like, who's gonna be the first person to notice I'm missing? Will it be work? Will it be my mom? Like, who is? So, anyways, thank God. Like, 8.5 hours into, we start to see some lights coming towards us, and it was the park ranger. So we just run towards his jeep, get inside, and I'm like,
You're like,
thank you
rescue.
so much. I'm like, yo, does this happen often? I was like trying to like say, is this? He was like, no, not really.
No.
And he was like, if you guys were out for another hour and I couldn't find you, I would have had to send like helicopters and a rescue team because it's not safe for you guys to be out here. So I get to
Oh my
work the next
God.
day, my legs all cramped
Are
up.
there, are there,
Yeah.
are there snakes and bears in that? In that?
I didn't even care to ask. I was just like, yo, get me home. And so I get to work the next day, I get to work the next day, and we've got like a big presentation, and everyone's stressing out by the presentation, and I'm like, guys, chill, chill. I just faced death. I just stared at death here. Like that's not this presentation is not important. There's more important things. When I was in that forest or the hike and not knowing if I was going to make it back, the questions I was asking myself is anyone going to miss me? Like I don't have any kids. Like no one's going to pass down my name, my history, and all of those are the important things. Like family, friends, not this stupid presentation that we're doing. But I'm telling you, I was not a happy guy. I was not a happy guy, bro. Huh? No, P. It was. I was told it was a 4 hour hike, bro, and we're getting rescued by a park ranger. Like that's too. That's. I'll tell you. I was just like, never again. I said to the person, just be honest. If you don't know where you're going, be honest. Like it's not a big deal. Just be honest. Well, it was peak, man. I'm happy that didn't happen to you and Lauren.
um, so for all the listeners, we don't want to, go for too many examples, but as you've probably heard, there are a different range of experiences we've had or things we've done for the first time and how it made us feel, how we felt beforehand, how we felt after. So I'd implore you all to try something new. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that's expensive. It could be something as small as trying a new restaurant that you've always wanted to try a new cuisine,
But just
visit a
talk with
networking group,
the stranger.
listen to a podcast, recommend a podcast to a friend, learn a new language, or you've mentoring someone, or just doing something, anything that's just going to be something for the first time that you haven't done before, or even in a while. So that would be what we would recommend.
Peace. Okay, book review. Daniel.
Yes.
Right, Daniel, what was that face about? What was
Which
that
face?
face? I'm ready though.
What was that?
Oh,
Was
you
that
made a
squinting?
face. I thought
No,
it
I'm
was
trying
just
to get
like
my notes up.
you're
trying to get my notes
Pre-book
up.
review, pre-book review.
I'm trying to
Prep
get my
phase.
notes
All
up.
right, cool.
So the book I'm going to be talking about, and not necessarily a strong recommendation, I'll be honest.
That's no good
Not a
start.
strong recommendation. No. It's no. It's,
Yeah,
no,
that's
no, no.
not
I'll
that's
say
not
I'll
a
say
good
that
start,
because
Daniel. I mean, everyone heard the clips of me when I tried to pitch this journal and how you like jumped on me, but that is not a good start,
no.
bro.
It's you'll understand why. As I go, I say that only because it depends on the type of person you are. Okay, so this week, my book that I'm gonna share is by Andy Andrews, and it's called It's called The Traveler's Gift: 7 Decisions That Will Determine Personal Success.
Are you sure you
So,
read this book?
yeah, I read the book. Don't worry,
Okay.
I've read the book. No, because I was reading the 7 decisions at the top, which is not. It's a subtitle part. So the book kind of effectively combines self help with fiction. So it brings things or key plays from history as well. And if I just share, it says this book is about someone called David Ponder, who a few months ago was a successful executive, but now is a desperate man on a divine adventure is about to unfold. And this book it shares an incredible journey that will help discover the 7 decisions for success, or let me say, Andy Andrews' interpretation for 7 decisions that will determine success. So with these 7 decisions, it actually also brings in notable figures from history. So it's 7 historic people, and is given wisdom and counsel from them. So every kind of chapter is a decision, bringing in a historic figure, and they share some insightful thoughts and share knowledge and wisdom. I actually came across this book back in 2012, and I did share. I got the book actually based on a few things I read, some excerpts that I just came across someone actually shared it with a few people, and P was actually one of them I shared it with in 2012. I saw it through my sent items in my mailbox last week, and just to summarize, so the first decision, I don't want to go into too deep. I'll just summarize the 7 decisions, and then we can talk about it. And I might just share one with you, which is the one that actually captured my attention and actually sort of relates back to our episode from 2 weeks ago, which was about the law of attraction and be careful what you wish for, and kind of taking ownership and accountability of your own kind of life and your thoughts to some degree. So the first decision is the buck stops here. The buck stops here, and that is introduces President Truman, and it talks about forgetting the past and quit blaming it on yourself or someone, and you take responsibility from this day forward. The second one is about seeking wisdom from King Solomon, and it's be with wise people and those who are searching for truth, not just those who are on a journey. The third is about being a person of action, and this is by Joshua Chamberlain, who was in the Civil War Marine. Who was in the Civil War in the main division, and it's about saying just do something, don't be paralyzed by fear, make decisions. The fourth is have a decided heart, and that's brings in Christopher Columbus, who we all know, and that's decide to have a passion about your vision for the future. Don't worry about what others say. Poor is the man who believes what people say about him. The fifth is to choose to be happy, and this is about Anne Frank. Of course, who we know was a Jew during World War II. And being happiness is a choice. Be grateful. Make this decision today to choose to be happy. It's contagious. The sixth is have a forgiving spirit, and this is Abraham Lincoln in Gettysburg, and I think it's a memo about a speech he gave. It's forgiveness must be given away. Give up bitterness. Forgive yourself and those who not and forgive yourself and those who do not even ask for forgiveness. And the last one is persist without exception, and this is about just keep going despite things. Don't worry about the pain of the process. Picture the end results. Persist, work hard, expect, and have faith. And that's just summarizing the 7 decisions. So I don't want to go into any detail about the decisions necessarily because they are quite broad, and I've given you a flavor of what they are.
Which one connected with you the most out of the
Okay,
7?
lovely, great question. That was the first one, and the buck stops here, and that is the one I actually came across first. So I can share with you actually, and I will try and keep my speech slow so I don't overlook or go too fast at anything. So it's quite lengthy, but please bear with me because it does make you think, does make you stop, does make you ponder. And this is the buck stops here. From this moment forward, I will accept responsibility for my past. I understand that the beginning of wisdom is to accept the responsibility for my own problems, and that by accepting responsibility for my past, I free myself to move into a bigger, brighter future of my own choosing. Never again will I blame my parents, my spouse, my boss, or employees for my present situation. Neither my education or lack of one, my genetics, or the circumstantial ebb and flow of everyday life will affect my future in a negative way. If I allow myself to blame these uncontrollable forces for my lack of success, I will forever be caught in a web of the past. I will look forward. I will not let my history control my destiny. The buck stops here. I accept responsibility for my past. I am responsible for my success. I am where today, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially, because of decisions I have made. My decisions have always been governed by my thinking. Therefore, I am where I am today, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially, because of how I think. Today, I will begin the process of changing where I am, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially, by changing the way I think. My thoughts will be constructive, never destructive. My mind will live in the solutions of the future. I will not dwell in the problems of the past. I will seek the association of those who are working and striving to bring out positive changes in the world. I will never seek comfort by associating with those who have decided to be comfortable. When faced with the opportunity to make a decision, I will make one. I understand that God did not put me in the ability to always make right decisions. He did, however, put in me the ability to make a decision and then make things right. The rise and fall of emotional tide will not deter me from my course. When I make a decision, I will stand behind it. My energy will go into making the decision. I will not waste none on second thoughts. My life will not be an apology. I will be a statement. The buck stops here. I control my thoughts. I control my emotions. In the future, when I'm tempted to ask the question, why me? I will immediately counter with the answer, why not me? Challenges are a gift, an opportunity to learn. Problems are the common thread running through the lives of great men and women. In times of adversity, I will not have a problem to deal with. I will have a choice to make. My thoughts will be clear. I will make the right choice. Adversity is preparation for greatness. I will accept the preparation. Why me? Why not me? I will be prepared for something great. I accept responsibility for my past. I control my thoughts. I control my emotions. I am responsible for my success. The buck stops here.
And for the listeners, this version of Audible is brought to you by Daniel Jones.
Don't mug me off.
I feel like you might have a new skill, man, reading Audible books. So Daniel, I really like that the reading. I think the only thing is you gotta be careful with that. I like the fact that it says take responsibility for what's happened in your life, but I also do understand that there's some aspects of your past which people cannot control or have anything to do with it. There's different
Yeah,
life
and I
traumas that they
agree.
have, and I feel like
I agree.
it's
No,
your
but
responsibility.
well, I agree. But that's with other decisions because the Anne Frank is saying be happy. It's a choice to be happy because we all
Agreed.
know Anne Frank
Yeah.
could always be someone says, "But I was hiding. I was living in these
Mm,
circumstances." But it's a choice.
exactly.
So I understand what you're saying, but also it's a
Listen, we
choice to whether you dwell on the past or
agreed.
live for the
I think
future.
that's the key thing.
P.
The key thing, Daniel, like you mentioned, is you can't control what's happened in the past, and some of those situations might have nothing to do with you, but you can control you can't control the past, but you can control how you react to the future and how you find healing and resolution in those situations, and you have to take accountability for that. So, no, I agree.
I don't
That
have any
area
questions. You should
is
just
really
drop the
important.
mic.
All right, let me drop the mic.
So no, I really appreciate that. That sounds like a good book. And Audible, if you're listening, you can sign up, Daniel. Quick tap.
I could do a better voice as well for the Audible.
Cool.
So thank you all for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have any feedback for us, hit us up in our DMs on Instagram at Take Flight Podcast. If you have email and don't have Instagram, it's takeflightpodcast@gmail.com. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Take care. God bless. Peace.
Woo, woo, woo.
Take off.